savior of the universe.
I think you have the wrong superhero movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That was with the cheesy Queen track. Yes.
Welcome to Drawing Conclusions. This is Jessica.
This is Josh.
And today we are talking about Glass, the concluding movie, I guess, in a trilogy by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do anything else with this story, but I mean,
well, it is in comic book world. Technically, they could do anything.
Anything's possible.
That's
anyway,
right. Those guys could all. Never mind.
But this is the follow up to Split, which was the surprise follow up to Unbreakable,
right?
Which was from what 2001, somewhere in there. And
right, somewhere in there.
Anyway, so we just saw that movie, and Josh, what did you think of it?
I thought it was great. I know there's a lot of haters out there.
Haters are gonna hate. That's what I've heard. That the haters are going to hate.
Jeez. Anyways, yeah, there are people out there who say, "Oh, I didn't like it for X, Y, and Z." I don't care why. I thought it was really good. I like that they made these movies into a trilogy. I like that they all follow one another. They all have the same kind of tone and consistency. The acting is great. Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, James McAvoy in particular was really great in this movie. He was great in Split. He just follows it up in this movie with more of the same. I like the story. The twists and turns I thought were really cool. It really kept me guessing, and I just thought it was fantastic. And I thought it was a really great finale to this trilogy. Probably. I don't know if that's for sure, but probably. Anyway, what did you think?
So it's really interesting because I did like it. Mm-hmm. But after it was over, I was kind of like, I'm not sure how I felt about the movie.
Right. It was kind of hard.
I wasn't sure how I felt about the ending. I felt like there was a lot to process, and I was just trying to figure it out. But
yes.
As I've been thinking about it some more, one of the things I like about it is that it makes me think so much. Like I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about the movie. I've been thinking about the themes, what it was trying to say. Right. I like that he makes movies that require a little more from you than what's typical in the big blockbusters of this day and age.
For sure.
But then I feel like he still creates films that are accessible to a lot of people and that appeal to a lot of people. Now, I have seen that there are mixed reviews for this, and people have different thoughts about why it's bad or whatever, but I did not feel like this was a bad film. In terms of how I experienced it,
yeah.
I like you said, I was intrigued the entire time. I was on the edge of my seat. I was very invested in what was happening with the characters.
Right.
And wanted to know how the story was going to unfold, and the end definitely took me by surprise. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean it was a perfect movie. There were definitely some things that I saw and then I noticed even as I was watching it. But there's a lot of those things I feel like are forgivable based on what he was trying to do, and even if they're not totally forgivable, they didn't make the experience less enjoyable necessarily for me. I mean, I still enjoyed it, is what I'm trying to say. And I still found it very interesting. And I think that there's a lot to think about in it. Like some of the things that bothered me, for instance, like some of the answers in the psychology of the movie felt a little pat, a little easy. But then when you think about what happens at the end of the movie, it's like hard to talk about without spoiling it, but you think about what happens at the end of the movie, then it kind of makes sense that they're like that. But also when you think about the overall theme of comic books, it also fits with that. Yeah. So I think the thing with M. Night Shyamalan is he makes movies that feel very modern, like they're set, they feel like they're set in the real world, but they're still actually fantasies. They're still fables, fairy tales, archetypes. You're not supposed to necessarily pick apart these characters like they're real people. And especially in this movie where it's a comic book movie, you're not supposed to necessarily connect with these people as real individuals. You're supposed to connect with them in the same way that you connect with archetypal characters that have existed throughout thousands of years of human storytelling.
Sure.
So anyway, so that was my very long-winded way of saying that I liked it.
Well said.
Is there anything you didn't like about this movie, Joshua?
Thinking back, reflecting on that question since we watched it yesterday, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's like a perfect movie. It wasn't like, I don't know that I liked it more than Unbreakable or Split.
Right.
But I definitely liked it.
Yeah.
I think it was a good movie. I don't think there's anything I didn't like about it. I thought it was a good show. I like the cinematography. I like, the angles that he chose and like the little nods to the characters in the movie that are kind of thrown in subtly with some of the other things. The props, for instance.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. And it's like, I don't know. His movies are fun to watch because there's just these little nuggets of information that if you're paying attention, you pick up on it. And I think it really helps the viewing experience. And
right. I do think
rewatching it.
I do think he's good at building those kinds of things into the show, and then I also think he's good at just creating like a tone and like a feeling around his movies that's different than what you typically see in a movie. I feel like
his movies are usually different.
Like I definitely feel like he's a director who has a stamp on his work.
He definitely has a style.
Something that's right. And
well, in particular in like the movies that are more his and not like
written by someone else
or for the studio or whatever. It's his project. I mean, Split and this movie definitely harken back to the his earlier films like Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, those kind of films. And I think that's cool. I hope he gets to do more of these kind of movies.
Right. And I think I've always a connecting thing through a lot of his movies is this idea that there's more going on in this world than is immediately obvious to us.
Yeah.
And that human beings are something more. And I think, people would maybe say, well, don't take that too literally. And I'm not saying that he literally thinks that, we're like comic book characters or superheroes or whatever. But I think there's a message there of that sometimes we are too dismissive of things that are that have a mysticism to them or a supernatural to flavor to them, or that we're sometimes too dismissive of the things that are magical, and we try to make them too.
We try to explain it away, I
right.
think.
But I also feel like he's a man who's very interested in science and certainly psychology and all of those kinds of things too. So I don't think he totally rejects that either. He's just saying it can't explain everything.
Well, I do think a lot of his movies have to do with the power of belief.
Right. Yeah. And there's like, it's okay to have like this wonder about you still. Mm-hmm. Anyway, some of the things I didn't like about the movie, I felt like the dialogue's a little clunky at times, but I feel like, I said the same thing in our podcast. I felt like it's kind of in line with
it kind of fits in the universe,
book, dialogue that you might, because you're not supposed to be thinking of these characters as real people, and so, but it does feel a little clunky at times.
Yeah, no problem with that, but I get what you're saying.
And there were times when I felt like maybe it was a bit heavy-handed in what he was doing, but not very, and not to the point where I didn't think it was good. But yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest thing is that it just left me thinking. I'm still thinking about it today. It makes me want to go back and rewatch the other two movies,
right?
And I want to see this again to unpack it more, and because I feel like there are things in the layers in the movie that I didn't get the first time I watched it. And so to me, if nothing else, that's a success. If someone wants to watch your movie again to try to understand more about it, you're, I don't know, haven't you made something that's successful?
I would think so. I mean, if it's, you certainly don't want to make a movie that people see and forget.
Right.
Because then they won't go to watch it again.
Right.
And you just kind of left hanging.
Yeah. Anyway, so I would recommend it. Josh, what rating would you give this?
I kind of waffled back and forth on our podcast between 3.5 and 4. I think I'm just going to go ahead and give it a 4. I mean, having had all day the following day to digest this movie and really think about it. I think 4 is pretty. I don't know. It just seems like where it fits in.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
4 out of 5. That's
I'm
what
probably
trying to say.
still in the 3.5 out of 5 category, but I feel like my feelings about this movie are going to change if
Over
as I
time.
see, over time as I see it.
Yeah.
You know, that I may, I don't know, I may discover that I like it less. I may discover that I like it more. I don't know, but I'm just looking forward to seeing it again and again watching Unbreakable, watching Split, and then watching this and just kind of putting it all together because I feel like there are things probably that I missed. Anyway, so why don't you tell me about this picture that you did, Josh?
Well, taking the 3 main characters of the story, the Beast, Mr. Glass, and the Overseer, each played by James McAvoy, Sam Jackson, and Bruce Willis, respectively. I like working on the gray tone paper. It's really cool to build on with pencil, because it's already got the middle tone. You just add the darks and the lights, and the paper pretty much does the rest. But adding a little splash of color there that was each kind of representative used in the promotional art and posters for the
And
movie.
throughout the film.
And throughout the film. I just thought it would look really neat. And so I colored their eyes, each their own, character's color.
Right.
And adding like little background, in the negative space colors as well. And so I think it turned out really nice. Really happy with this one.
Yeah. I like it too. I think it's a really cool picture.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it. So what should they do now, Joshua?
They should like this video.
And they should comment on it.
They should.
We want to hear your thoughts. I feel like M. Night Shyamalan, he's a very controversial director. His movies tend to really divide audiences, into camps. Whether like you either really love his work or really hate it and find it ridiculous. So, let us know what you think in the comments. What else should they do?
Subscribe and share.
Yeah, and check us out on Patreon. You can get all of our movie discussions there, our spoiler-filled first reactions to the movies that we see through our podcast. And then you also get great rewards like artwork and other things like that. So anyway, check us out. Thanks.